Ba 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 ba. Hey gamers, it's me Patrick and Jason is here
Hello.
and for an episode of RPGaymer presents bonus XP, we're
Woo!
actually going to pay some honor to the Mario movie coming out this weekend
Yeah, that's
by
right.
doing a little Mario discussion of our own.
Hmm.
And while we were sitting around and hanging out, we were trying to decide which Mario game we wanted to talk about because there are so many, and
Yes.
obviously at some
There are
point in the
many.
future, yeah, at some point in the future we are going to do a Mario episode, but today we just kind of wanted to talk about Mario 64. I think this is
It's a
a good
good one.
place to start, right?
Yeah, totally good one. I think it's probably one of the biggest games I remember growing up that like made me feel like gaming is cool, gaming is fun, and I was old enough to respect what it was cuz I grew up on the NES, SNES, great Mario games, but I think with 64 I felt like this is super unique and it was the one that got me into just Mario games, platforming, video games in general, for sure.
I'm happy that you have such a good memory of like what was going on in the gaming world and life for
Hmm.
you, because for me this was literally, hey, your parents just divorced and your mom
Oh
just
no.
left you, here's a Nintendo 64 from my grandma.
Oh
So
god.
like literally my brother got a guitar and I
Hmm.
got a 64 with Mario 64 as kind of like a, hey, you're dying on the inside but you are living,
Living in that
you
video
are
game
living in
console.
the video game world.
Yeah, that's funny. I
I'm
think
sad
for
on the inside.
I'm gonna turn it around and make it a happier note. I think we got ours for Christmas, I want to say, and my oldest brother got the 64 with Mario and a couple other games, and he was in college at the time. He also went to Purdue, and I remember thinking like it was so sad that he would take it with him to go to college because it was his, and so I would only be able to play Mario 64 like every third or fourth weekend when he would come home, and I would like play as much as I could as because I knew I could only get it in then, and I would call him and be like, "Hey, are you bringing it home? Like I want to play." So,
I can't imagine having a sibling take a system. Like I
the
think
whole
my brother,
system. Hmm.
one of us would have been dead at this point if that
Yeah,
was the case. So
he would take it, and then my other brother and I would be left with what we still had, which was granted very privileged. Like we still had SNES, Genesis, PlayStation, so we had other stuff too. And I think maybe after 2 years of doing that, is when I got my first game console I owned on my own was the 64 of my own, and then yeah, right, I had Mario of my own after that.
so Jason,
Yes.
what do you think made Mario 64 so revolutionary? Like it is,
Yeah.
that game's a, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it is
He
a big
had he
deal
had
game.
all the right polygons in all the right places. No, I think it
is
was
that is that what Megan Trainor
yeah,
song?
exactly. That's her new one coming up. No,
Yeah.
I think it
All the
just
right polygons in all the right places.
I think it was a culmination of a lot of really really good choices. So this is the game that most people probably point to for moving from 2D to 3D, especially platformers.
Oh,
And
100%.
it just did it right. Like it felt smooth. It looked good at the time. It's blocky nowadays, but like it did it right. And it didn't try to stay on what Mario was then, which was, intense, semi-intense platforming with like, jumping on enemies, things like that. You still did it, but they did the right thing of doing what works for 3D. So they added like 3D movement with like your cannons you could shoot. Mario could punch enemies now. There really wasn't a fire flower. So like these
Well,
things that just didn't work.
they mastered the 2D.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
2D Mario was at that point mastered. Like Super Mario World is it's a perfect game.
Fantastic game.
Like
Hmm.
there's is one of the best games ever made, hands down. That's
Hmm.
not even
Not
like
even
a
up for
bias.
debate.
It's yeah, it's a fact. Like you can
Mhm.
go back and play that game now, and it 100% holds up.
Yep.
Like there's just no compromise on that at all. In this game, like it's like, well, what do we do next?
Hmm.
How do you make Mario in a 3D space? The funny thing is, it really wasn't Mario's first 3D adventure, because I guess
Hmm.
technically Super Mario RPG is
Kind of 3D. Yeah.
kind of 3D.
Isometric.
Like I know it's cheating,
Hmm.
but like it did not. I love Super Mario RPG, but like it did not have the same impact that Super Mario 64 has, where it's like that you are in a world.
Yeah, you're in the world, and I think that they did the right thing too by giving you the Princess Peach's castle as the hub. You jump in the paintings for all the different worlds.
Yeah, isn't
Like
that weird to think about? Like, I don't think I could have told you what a hub world was
yeah,
before
at the
that.
time, but I get
Yeah.
it. Like I immediately knew what was happening. Also, we need to talk about the music. I think the music really was fantastic. I loved it. And like so much
Dun,
so
dun,
that
dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
bum, bum, dum, bum,
classic.
bum, bum.
Classic.
Du-du-du-du-du-du.
I remember at the time I even subscribed to Nintendo Power, and it was so cool back then. You could like submit little like I don't know Nintendo Power points with some money and get like unique things. I remember buying that soundtrack CD. I was like, I need to have this CD. It's so good.
Are you
Um,
still talking? Because I'm still jamming to that song.
yeah, yes, I'm still talking. We're gonna be putting it on Spotify in the background for this whole thing. But no, that game was great, and I think that something else that it did really well, it amazingly just revolutionized 3D platforming games like instantaneously. Like that game came out, and everything else before it was complete garbage, and a lot of games after it also just weren't good. Like games would come out years later that were just not good. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, like this game to me. So we're talking about like why it was a revolutionary game. I don't think it's a perfect game. It definitely has
It has faults. Yeah.
its faults. It's really hard to go back and play now. I know if you get that I don't remember the
The
technical name
3D
of it,
3D
but,
All
like,
Stars collection. That one.
yeah, 3D All Stars collection. That is the one I would recommend least going and playing because it does not hold up as well. Like Mario, full on like dead moves at some points. Like he will keep running, or you don't have the wiggle room of error and the dynamicness that you have in more modern 3D Mario games. Because like
True.
Mario can yeet.
Yeah.
Like especially in Odyssey, like Mario can yeet, but like in this game, this was not one
Yeah.
of those.
It's funny
games.
you bring it up too, like, because maybe you've seen on like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but people that do like the crazy glitch speed runs, which are just ridiculous. But it's just like, yeah, that's the shit that you could do in that, and like it was not anything I would do, but it's just amazing to see, and it was just really fun, really fun. Did you make it onto the roof of the castle?
Yeah, I made it
Yeah.
on the roof of the castle.
I remember it being so cool.
I think that was one of the big revolutionary things too. Was like here we had a game that actually had a completion to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like I wouldn't say that many games before that had that go and collect these. Go back. Like the big thing for me, honestly, was the ability to go back into a world and
Yeah.
for that world to change. And not many
Yeah.
games do that with integrity, where like you can have a different objective in the same place, and some of the things that you did in the previous parts have changed it.
They've changed it.
Yeah, so I think that is one of those things where you could argue, well, it's lazy design because they're just reusing the same assets, but like you want to be able to
but
go
when
back
it's
and
when it's
explore,
good, like I want to keep doing it.
because that's one of those things that like the older the way I kind of think about it is one full world in an older Mario game is one painting in in Mario 64, but the only difference is in Mario 64, like it is a contained space that is pretty consistent. In Mario 3 or the previous games, like each part is a different one.
Yeah,
like
it makes
2.1
sense.
and 2.2 are completely different, where like Mario 64, they're kind of the same.
It makes sense though, but like that's again Nintendo doing what makes sense for 3D. Because in the first world, Bob-omb's Battleground, like the first one is you get to the top of the hill. It's like great, and then later on when you play it again, there's the star where you're trying to race the Koopa like up to the top of the hill. So it's the same, but they've changed it. They've changed it, and so like it's the smart way to do it, because I don't need another full 3D world set in like Koopa Troopa land. Like just make me play that uniquely, and that's what they did. So I think that's super solid.
Did you have any favorite worlds in Mario 64?
Ooh, I think that I always really liked the desert one. And
really?
I think I just think it's because I always liked jumping with those boxes where you would like triple jump with them when they would move.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I always thought that was really fun. And then I also really liked, I think they were just Bowser's worlds, where you would fight the I think they're called bullies, like the little bombs with like spikes on their heads, and you have to punch them off the side, otherwise they would run into you.
Yeah.
I always thought that was really fun. I liked doing those ones. What were yours though?
My favorite was probably Tiny Huge Island.
Oh sure, yeah.
I think the like actively seeing the world change in the perspectives
Hmm.
of like things being bigger or smaller and having like giant ass
Yeah,
goombas
the
and
big
whatnot
Goombas.
was really cool. So yeah, that was one of the big standouts for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Also,
yeah.
I think the game was unique for me too, in that it's one of the only games I can really think of, besides maybe Pokemon, that I would say was like a playground or schoolyard game where like I would go back like to school, elementary school, and tell my friends like, "Oh my god, I got to Dire Docks. Like, I made it here. Like, but how do I get down there?" And like we would like talk to each other about it, and that was really fun. That was part of the reason why we keep playing, because again, I had to wait like weeks to do it. So I'm like, "Hey, what did you do?" And I would take that back when I would finally play again.
So good.
Hmm.
Okay. There are. I feel like if you talk to anyone about Mario 64,
Hmm.
you're basically getting a million different answers on like favorite memories from the game, whether that's inside the game or things that happen outside. But I want to focus on, because we already talked about some of the external ones and how some of those are traumatic for me.
Okay, sure.
But what are some of those big moments in the game for you that were like, oh, I like it just brings you joy to think about?
You know what? It's a silly one, but if you try to ascend the staircase and you can't make it, you just go forever and the song loops.
Oh
Um,
yeah, with
I
that
re-
piano in the
yeah,
background. And isn't Bowser like kind of laughing too?
I
Isn't
think
that what's
so. I think so.
Yeah.
And again, you could glitch your way up there. But I remember my young mind thinking like, if I go
I'm
enough,
gonna
I
get
can make
there.
it. And I remember going to dinner one time, just in our house, and I put the controller down with like something holding the up button, thinking for sure after 30 minutes I would make it.
Oh,
Uh,
poor baby scientist
yeah, see, I
Jason.
tried. Fun fact: eventually it moved, and I was just running into the wall when I got back. But no, I did not make it. That's one of the funny ones too. And I think I'm going to give you two. Um, for the main castle, when you walk in, you can go up the stairs and you go to the right. You get to like that room with Princess Peach's glass window. You could jump in, and it's like the slide level. I remember thinking
Oh
I remember thinking the
yeah.
slide was really cool, and I didn't expect that to be anything. So it was kind of like the intro to like Easter eggs. Like I didn't think it would even be there. And like there's more of those in the whole game. So that was really cool to find those secrets and just slide constantly. Like that was a really fun one for me.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Like the worlds that you didn't know were worlds
Hmm.
were cool. And
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
would love to see that in more Mario games, or like just game any kind of game in the future, where like if you have this game where you have a hub
Hmm.
and like there's a standard of how you get into them, it would be really cool to see some of the ones that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, yeah, that
Um
was fun.
oh, some of my big memories. I absolutely 100% refuse to do the eel level.
Oh, too scary. Yeah,
I could not do it. And I know everyone's like it is so much worse in
banjo.
Banjo,
Hmm.
but like yeah, I could I was very scared of
It's
that.
because
And
the eyes were so big and it's creepy in water.
well, and I literally thought that like this bitch is going to swallow
Yeah,
me whole.
and
Like
like
it is.
he's pretty big compared to Mario, so it was good.
Well, and it's just so frustrating too. Like you have to worry about breathing, and this is the
Hmm.
first Mario game where that's been a thing, you
Yeah,
know.
otherwise you're just
And
floating down below. Yeah.
right, so that was one. The piano
Oh
is one of
yeah,
the biggest jump
Your
scares.
nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about
like
that one. Hmm.
literally nightmare fuel. Like
Yeah.
going back to our gamer feels episode from like episode 2,
Hmm.
like one was one of the most frightening moments
Yep.
in all of video games,
Brr, 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 brr.
and it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
literally the piano
Oh,
in
that's funny.
Mario.
It's
Isn't
just,
that so funny to think? Like of all
yeah.
the things, it's so
It makes
scary.
sense though. Like you're not expecting that to happen, even at like the Boo themed level. Like I would not expect that. So and it was good. Like the way the camera angle like shot down like towards you coming in. Like they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
I think too, like just being able to play with Mario's face was
Oh
so
yeah, in
much
the beginning.
fun.
Yeah,
Like I can't. What other game has done
I don't
something
know.
like that?
I mean,
And
I.
I think if you held the Z button, or
Mhm.
maybe it was the R button, you could
Yeah.
keep the other, like, you could keep what you moved where
Yeah.
it was, so it all just sticks. So you could just like make this freak Mario.
And then just
It was
spring it all back to
yeah,
go back. Yeah.
so much
I
fun.
remember doing that a lot when I would visit like Toys R Us, because that was their like attract mode for the N64, was that specific thing, which makes sense. Big 3D model, like it's pretty cool. But yeah, I would just like, yeah, move his nose, move his hat, yeah, keep it all there. Oh my gosh, I'm glad you brought that up. I kind of forgot about that. That was fun.
Were there any parts that you were just kind of like, fuck this, fuck this game?
Yeah, definitely. I hated is it called TikTok clock? Whatever, the one that's in the clock.
Entire world.
Yeah,
the entire
super cool
world.
theme, like great theme, but
In theory,
oh my gosh, that one was so frustrating. And I think it's that one too that has one of the levels where you're riding the magic carpet, and I was just like, oh my god, it's so frustrating. Like I hated that one so much. I hated it like with a passion. What about yours?
Penguin racing.
Really, like with the mama penguin going down?
Yeah, and
Okay.
just anything involving the penguins in general, like just not made. It was not made for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they really got that down until Odyssey. I feel
Odyssey?
like Odyssey might have been not Odyssey.
Galaxy?
Galaxy. I think was the first one where the controls felt firm
Better.
enough,
Yeah.
to actually be able to control something like that. Because that was one of the few stars where it's like, this is gonna be the last.
Did you at least take solace by dropping the baby penguin off the side of the world?
Oh, absolutely.
Every single time.
Many times.
And then move the camera so you see him just.
What else was a part where you're just kind of like, this makes me so mad?
Oh, I for the life of me, I was young. I'm gonna preface with that. I did not understand in the ice world. I think it's Frappe Frozen Land or whatever.
Yep.
I did not know what the wall kick was, because like you jump on the wall and you slide down and you jump off. Like I get it now, but my young peasant mind thought that I was supposed to physically jump and kick the wall to like make it up. So I'm like, wall kick. And for the longest time, Patrick, I could not get that star, because I'm like, how do I get there? And there's like little like teleport zones which are close. I'm like, you can teleport there. Like I knew that's what it had to be, but I didn't figure it out. And I remember one time at my friend's house, we're both trying to get it because we both think we're supposed to kick the wall, and then one of us just jumps and then slides down and then jumps again, and we're like, like the whole thing happened from there. It was so crazy.
Hearing all of these stories about you as a kid just really reminds me of how bad at video games you are.
Oh my god. Okay. Whatever. I was like literally 7. So
I was also like literally 7.
Yeah, but you didn't, you weren't nearly as good as you think you were,
Hey, I got all the stars.
I did too. I did too.
I met that Yoshi.
I met that Yosh. That's where it was at.
Do you think that people would still have a good time if they picked up and played this?
That's a great question. I feel like you'd probably have a better time if you played like Mario 3, Mario World. I think those games hold up for what they are because they're intrinsically like what it is. Like retro games, 8-bit, 16-bit look good because that's what they are. Polygon games like Mario 64 might not look that great, especially if you're playing like Odyssey or even Galaxy. They just look better.
Galaxy, I think Galaxy for me is like the epitome of
quality looking.
Like
that
is 3D Mario.
I think if you go back, you're gonna go back to play it for like nostalgia reasons. So I feel like you and I would enjoy it, but like a newbie that's never played it would probably just be okay, another Mario game, and they would just pass through it. They would miss a lot of what it was, because there's a lot of shock value from what it did when it first released and what it was like at the landscape for games at the time. So looking back, if you don't have that, you have, granted, a very good game, but there are also many other good games that you could play too. So it's hit or miss.
I agree. I think that it really is at this point a nostalgia game. I get into, I would say arguments, but like conversations with some people at some channels about like appreciating older games, and I don't think everybody has to have that appreciation for all of the older games.
Sure.
And I wouldn't be mad if someone was like, I just can't play this game because I think it really is for people who played it when they were kids that want to relive it. I don't think it is as fun, because like we said, they've just refined it so much, where if you compare it to things like certain Final Fantasies and whatnot, if they offered something that like future games down the series didn't offer, it's worth picking up, whether that's like a story or a way to play. But like, because Mario has literally just evolved so much from this game, it's still a good game, but like just the refinement for Mario is just insane. Like, it's crazy how much better the games have gotten over the years. So
it makes sense. I just imagine someone going to like the Super Mario Brothers movie this weekend, and then they're like, I'm gonna play Mario 3D, and they go see Mario with his like pointy nose because of the polygons around there. They're gonna be so disappointed.
Well, Jason, I think that wraps up our discussion. Just a little quick one on celebrating the fact that the Mario movie is finally here.
It's here.
And sharing some thoughts on Mario 64 before Season 4 hits, when we probably talk about the full Mario
retrospective.
It's gonna be a while. Why don't you take us on home?
Yeah, for sure. It's always fun chatting about games. Love me some Mario. If you guys do enjoy this content, give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at HeyRPGaymer if you're not already. And thank you for supporting us.
If you're viewing us on YouTube and seeing us, make sure you give us a little like and subscribe and come join in the conversation, because even if you have a differing opinion, we still want to hear it, as long as you're nice.
Yeah, be nice to us, please. And yeah, thank you again for all of our patrons over on Patreon. Appreciate all the support you give us too, and the love over there. And we'll catch you guys next time.